In the depths of the Orion expanse, a fragile piece hung like a thread between the star systems. The Quorum, a coalition of sentient species, had governed the outer sectors for centuries, maintaining balance through diplomacy and the threat of overwhelming force. Yet for all their knowledge and experience, they had underestimated the singular force that would challenge them: humanity. Commander Elias Kane, of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet, looked over the viewport of his flagship. The Resolute, as the distant stars streaked past, humanity had expanded slowly, settling the fringe worlds that no other species considered valuable. They had been underestimated, dismissed as fragile and short-lived. But Kane knew better. Humans adapted, learned, and fought with a resilience unmatched by any alien species in the Quorum. Reports from the frontier had arrived weeks ago, detailing incursions by an unknown entity, machines that moved with precision and cunning, obliterating outposts and communication relays. The Quorum had convened an emergency meeting to respond, and Kane had been dispatched as the Terran representative, tasked with both reconnaissance and diplomacy. The assembly chamber was vast, suspended in a zero-gravity field. Representatives from the dominant species floated around a central dais, their forms ranging from crystalline structures that refracted the light to bioluminescent beings that pulsed softly with each thought. Kane entered last, his human frame seemingly fragile against the alien grandeur. Yet he carried an aura of certainty that drew eyes. The head of the assembly, an ancient being named Voron, spoke first. His voice was a harmonic vibration, felt as much as heard. The incursions on the outer sectors escalate daily. We convene to decide a unified response before the colonies are lost. A representative of the Velnari, a species of insectoid tacticians, buzzed in agreement. We must strike preemptively. Intelligence suggests these humans are not only expanding, but arming themselves with weapons unknown to the Quorum. Kane remained silent, observing the reactions around him. He could feel the tension, the underlying fear. Humanity had long been considered the weakest link in galactic affairs. Yet the Quorum's anxiety betrayed a recognition of what they truly faced. He finally spoke, his tone calm but firm. The humans are not invaders by choice. They seek survival, expansion, and understanding. They do not strike unless provoked, but if cornered, they will fight with ingenuity and determination that your records may not account for. Voron's multifaceted eyes focused on Kane. Your warnings are noted, Commander Kane, yet the Assembly cannot risk hesitation. The Quorum must protect its members. The debate raged for cycles, strategies proposed and dismissed. Some suggested a blockade of human worlds, others recommended a diplomatic envoy hoping to subdue humanity without bloodshed. Kane countered each proposal with evidence of human adaptability and unpredictable strategies, citing instances where humans had survived against superior forces through clever tactics. Finally, the Assembly voted for a mission of observation first, a joint fleet to assess the human threat without immediate aggression. Kane returned to the Resolute, knowing the true test would come sooner than anyone imagined. Weeks later, the Terran frontier world of Arden 5 became the flashpoint. Sensors detected a Quorum fleet approaching under the guise of exploration. Human colonies, though isolated, had established early warning networks, and the alarms rang across the planet. Citizens were evacuated to underground bunkers. While the planetary defense forces scrambled to mobilize orbital batteries and fighter wings, Kane led a small task force to intercept the Quorum fleet before they could reach the planet's atmosphere. The first engagement was brutal, but telling. Human pilots used their knowledge of the system's asteroid belts to their advantage, weaving through debris and launching surprise attacks that left Quorum vessels damaged and confused. Tactical simulations had never accounted for such improvisation. Admiral Rial of the Velnari fleet demanded a full assault. "They cannot withstand our firepower," he hissed through the coms. Kane responded with a calculated calm. "They are not here to withstand, they are here to endure. You underestimate their capacity to turn disadvantage into advantage." The battle stretched over cycles, with neither side gaining clear dominance. Quorum ships were technologically superior, yet human ingenuity closed the gap. When a Quorum cruiser attempted to ram the human defensive station, engineers had rigged the station's energy conduits to overload, sending a controlled explosion that disabled the cruiser without casualties on the human side. News of the confrontation reached the assembly, sparking heated debate. Some called for immediate intervention, while others feared the humans' resilience suggested a power that could upset the galactic balance. Kane knew that humanity's survival was no longer a question of skill alone. It was about recognition. The Quorum had to see them as equals, not expendable subjects. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a lull in the conflict, Kane requested a parley. The humans, guided by Kane's leadership, offered to demonstrate their capabilities without escalating further. On a neutral station, engineers, scientists, and tacticians from both sides observed the humans manipulate gravity fields, harness subatomic energy, and deploy strategies that blended logic with intuition. The Quorum representatives were awed. Their collective experience, spanning millennia, had never accounted for such a combination of adaptability and resolve. Kane spoke plainly. This is what humans bring to the assembly. Not just numbers, not just technology, but creativity and the will to endure. Punish them, and you do so at your own peril. Vorin, the assembly head, took hours to deliberate. The decision was unprecedented. Humanity would be granted provisional membership in the Quorum, recognized for its potential as a stabilizing force rather than a threat. Human representatives would be included in the next full assembly, and a new directive was issued to encourage cooperation instead of conflict. Humanity's reputation grew. Across the stars, humans were no longer seen as weak, insignificant settlers. They became symbols of resilience, innovation, and courage. Stories spread of their battles against impossible odds, of commanders who outwitted fleets far larger than their own, and of entire colonies that survived through ingenuity and unity. Yet, Kane understood that this recognition came with responsibility. Humanity was no longer just a frontier species. They were now a player in galactic politics, capable of influencing decisions that could sway entire star systems. He returned to Earth, carrying the weight of both victory and expectation. Years later, when the assembly convened on the newly built Human-AI collaborative station in the Sol system, Kane observed the scene with quiet pride. Representatives from countless species floated around the dais, each contributing ideas, proposals, and debates. Humans, once dismissed as fragile, now had a voice that carried weight. Kane reflected on the journey from Quorum to assembly, from underestimation to recognition. Humanity had proven that survival depended not only on strength, but on adaptability, creativity, and unity. In a universe of infinite stars and endless possibilities, the human spirit had found its place into doing so, reshaped the destiny of the galaxy itself. The story of the Assembly of War was no longer one of conquest or fear. It was a tale of respect, earned through courage and ingenuity. Kane smiled as he watched young human cadets train alongside alien counterparts, knowing that the next challenge would come, as it always did. But humanity was ready, as it had always been, to rise above any obstacle and claim its place among the stars.